is it with the White House when they keep having the president go back and say he inherited a 9% inflation rate? Of course, that was not the case. But I had to raise the issue with Jared Bernstein, the chairman of the President's Economic Council, Economic Advisors, I should say. I don't know if we got anywhere on the subject, but take a look.
Never will this president blow off the struggles that families like the one he grew up in are going through. Instead, he'll take action to help them through cutting costs, prescription drug, clean energy, housing, child care, junk fees, actively working to lower costs in those areas. So not at all dismissive of America's concerns in that regard, Neil.
All right, well, some might disagree with you on that, but I do want to get behind why the president keeps claiming this. This is what talking about inflation. Take a look.
We have dramatically reduced inflation from 9% down to close to 3%. We're in a situation where we're better situated than we were when we took office. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. I think inflation has gone slightly up. It was at 9% when I came in, and it's now down around 3%.
Jared, why does he keep saying that? You're his top you're the head of the Council of Economic Advisors. Do you ever whisper in his ear, Mr. President, just to be technical about it, it wasn't 9% when you assumed office, it was 1.4%. It got as high as 9% in 2022. You brought it down from that, but it was never, ever, ever 9% when you came into office. So why does he keep saying it?
Well, first of all, let me point out that in that very quote you played, the president talked about how concerned he was for households struggling with prices that he consistently characterizes as too high.
That's not what I asked you.
So
why does he keep misrepresenting this?
He's making the point that the factors that caused inflation to climb to 9% were in place when he took office.
No, that's not what he said. He said it was at 9%. It would eventually get to 9% a little over a year after that. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't 9%. So if I can't trust him quoting data in real time, why should I believe what he's talking about now?
So the annual growth in core inflation in the second quarter of 21 was, in fact, about 9%. And his point about inflation down 60% off its peak is very much the case. So
no, it wasn't. It was not at that. So you're almost as bad as he is. Why can't you just say it was high? It got as high as 9%. You'd be accurate in saying that. And we have now brought it down, and we're struggling in around the 3% area. But it's better than it was. But instead, to hang it on his predecessor, that you inherited something that was through the roof when we were in the middle of COVID. It just seems to the American people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you're lying. You're just lying.
Well, hold on. I hear you. The president was making the point that I think is unequivocally true. The factors that took inflation to 9% were in place when he took office.
That is not what he said, Jared. And you're a very smart guy with this stuff. You could just whisper, and he's a good friend of yours. Obviously, he thinks the world of you. Many others do as well. You could have just told him, Chief, I got to tell you, Mr. President, whatever you say, you might even, in fact, call him Joe. That's how close you are. Say, sir, it was not 9%. Stop it with the 9%, because the more you say that, the more people don't believe what you're saying.
Look, I think what the American people care most about is the fact that inflation.
The American people care about truth, Jared.
Hold on, Neil, this only works if you let me talk, okay?
You haven't answered my question. I've asked it 5 times, five ways.
The president was making the point that the factors that caused inflation were in place when he took office, and that's unequivocally true.
All right.
I take your point, and we can have we can go on all day back and forth on this. I think what matters today is, are we making progress on lowering costs as well as lowering inflation? You know, they're not the same thing. Lowering both inflation and costs on behalf of the American people. I think we saw a great CPI report yesterday in that regard, but that's just one data point.
The full interview is on our Fox Business site. I briefly lost my appetite right after doing that interview. I regained it, don't worry. But man, oh man, this to be clear, we fact check here, everybody. 1.4% coming into office, not 9%, got up to 9% under his watch, not his predecessor's watch. Just sharing the facts. Any other representation of that is just wrong. All right, that full interview I had with Jared Bernstein is on our Fox Business website. You could feel free to look at it there. We could only air so much here. But I do want to go to Gary Kaltbaum on this because it cuts to the core of who you can depend on and who you can rely on. And Gary, when they keep pounding, and the president is leading with this and saying this is what he inherited, everyone knows, even passive followers of the economy know that was not the case when he came into office. And you just can't play that game. What do you make of it?
And it's not once or twice or three times. It's quite a few times they are coming out with that. And the other part of the equation is how many jobs were created under his watch when a ton of it was COVID coming back. Look, all we're interested in, I think any of us are interested in, just tell us the straight. It's okay if things weren't so great for a while, because things are better. Inflation rate has come down, though prices are still way up.
You know,
and there's
that
a
was
lot
brilliant.
of work
What you
to
just
be done.
said was brilliant. Go with the truth. The truth is, yeah, it did rocket up to 9%, and we were getting really plenty worried. Now, it's no longer 9%. It's around 3%, still outrageously high grocery prices. There is that. But that is something, called the truth. That's the reality, not this 9% coming in, or that the seeds were planted for 9% inflation. They were not planted.
And what ends up happening, you get a bad reputation. And as I always taught my children, if you lie once, you're going to have to cover up for the lie a second time. And if you're found out to be lying, people aren't going to believe you the next go-round, and then the reputation starts. So let's hopefully they learn a lesson from this. Again, just tell us the way it is. That's all anybody wants, and that's from all politicians in all parties. Enough's enough. Just give it to us the way it is, and
don't
we'll
tell
take
us
it the way
we're
it is.
imagining it. I mean, I've seen this when Republicans have tried this, when it was, we were coming out of it. George Bush Sr., I get it. But you got to have to acknowledge that. Don't make the American people feel dumb for feeling otherwise. You might throw facts at them and talk about prescription drug prices coming down. Tell that to the person who's paying double for hamburger, or dare I say it, Italian sausage, Gary, which outrages me. Your thoughts?
I think they have to start recognizing, especially in an election year, people are watching, and people are not stupid. So look into the camera, tell us the numbers, or we're going to show you the numbers, and then you end up looking stupid, and you lose the credibility and some votes also in a very, very close election as we head into November.
Super quickly, my friend, we crossed 40,000 for a while. Looked like we might end there. We didn't. All the averages closed down a teeny bit, but we got there. What do you make of it?
Interest rates on the 10-year went from 4.7 down to 4.4, and the market loves that.
Right.
All I can tell you, short-term probably pull back, but I think we're in pretty decent stead right now, and hopefully the economy stays in good stead. If we lose the job market, you'll be hearing from me, Neil, but so far, so good.
So far, so good. Gary, always good talking to you. Thank you very much. Again, what we try to do when we fact-check this, and this is the nerdy thing we're really obsessed with, get the numbers right. The numbers don't lie. You have some good news you can report it, but you can't make up stuff as if it's fact. It is not.